If you really got a problem with your life, you'll change it. You're not tired of being broke. You're not tired of being stuck. You're not tired, because if you was tired, you would actually do some shit about it. I'm tired of everybody running around complaining as if you're on the receiving end of whatever this world wants to dump on you and you don't have a choice. It's time to grow up, man. Excuses sound best to the person that's making them up.
It's good for you to go take your place in the world. Have some ambition. Have a vision. Have a goal. Have a strategy. Try to be a good person. And not because it's your duty precisely, because that's the proper way to live. We're in danger of undermining all of that. And it's not good for people. One of the things that I've really learned, for example, recently, is that there's a very tight relationship between aspiration and responsibility.
Anybody who is determined to do something, who wants something to be different, it will eventually be different. Everything around you is going to change as soon as you change the things around you. Change your mind, and everything about your bank account, your surroundings, your environment will all change.
All we know is some get the spark and say, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change my health.
There's two ways to see the world. Some people see the thing that they want, and some people see the thing that prevents them from getting the thing that they want. The rule is, you can go after whatever you want. You just cannot deny anyone else to go after whatever they want. You don't have to do it the way everybody else has done it. You can do it your way. You can break the rules. You just can't get in the way of somebody else getting what they want.
Every day, I demand more from myself than anybody else could humanly expect.
Yes. So you got to keep it moving. We're here to work, commit thy works. This is no place to stand still. This is an incredible opening here. And when you are going through some stuff during the challenging times in your life, if you keep it moving, you'll get out faster.
I think one of the mistakes that people make is they think purpose comes from their job. I've been a whatever for so many years, and when then I lose my job or I retire, I now don't have a sense of purpose because I've so closely associated my self-worth with the job that I did. I knew what my job was. I had a sense of purpose. And one wonders if those things are conflated, right? Which is, I had a sense of purpose for my job, but then when I didn't have the job, all of a sudden I woke up in the morning and didn't know what to do. The purpose is not your MOS. Your purpose is not your assault gunner. Your purpose is not the job that you wake up to do every day. Your purpose is something bigger.
You'll get blessings out of nowhere. Listen to me. Activity, doing the best you can.
And I know that can be hard. That's why people lose the war. That's why people never achieve their strategic goals. They lose the little battles, the death of 1,000 cuts. One missed workout at a time, and then another, and then another, and it all adds up. Why? Because we don't think about the big picture. We don't see the decay. We are like the frog boiling in the pot. As the temperature slowly increases, 1 degree at a time, 1 degree closer to death, 1 degree closer to failure.
You've got to have family goals. You've got to have personal goals. Worthy projects you would like to support. Not just income goals. It's not to have a home and a nice car and clothes to wear. It's the full variety of things. If you can develop an appetite for all of that. I call them reasons. Reasons make the difference. If you have enough reasons, you can do spectacular things. And there's an ancient script that says, without a vision, we die. And if I can get people caught up in thinking about where they would like to go, who they would like to meet, the kind of income they would like to have, the kind of money they would like to share, the kind of skills they would like to develop, the influence they would like to have, the reputation they would like to build. Would you like to be an entrepreneur? Would you like to have a masterful management career? Would you like to be a better parent? What kind of influence would you like to have on the people around you? Would you like to influence the industry you're in? There's a whole wide range of things that we need not lack for appetite of things to accomplish. And that's called the promise of the future. And without that promise, life becomes a little less worth living. If the promise is clear, we will pay the disciplines, we'll pay the price, we'll read the books, we'll take the classes, we'll learn the skills. So that's one of the first things, is to articulate the promise. Big job parents have these days is getting kids to see the promise of the future, the possibilities, the opportunities. When I used to cross my fingers and say, I sure hope things will change for me. And he said, Mr. Rohn, for things to change for you, you've got to change. I used to hope the economy would change, or my boss would change and become more benevolent. I used to hope that circumstances would change, the difficulties would go away. But he said, things aren't going to change. It's going to be like it's always been. But if you will change, everything will change for you. If you'll get better, everything will get better for you. That sort of is the centerpiece of the philosophy I've been trying to teach all these years. And I think that's one of the best quotes. It's a promise he gave me. If you will change, everything will change for you. But if you won't change, the next 5 years will probably be just about like the last 5.
Unless you get out every single motherfucking day and put in the work inch by motherfucking inch, you will never get there.
Everybody want to win, but everybody don't want to work. Everybody want the reward, but everybody don't want to work. We all got to work. All I'm saying is don't quit. I didn't say don't rest. I didn't say don't recover. I said don't quit. Mentally, you ain't got to take off. Mentally, you can stay connected.
When I work with people, when I workshops or classes or anything, I always try to get people just to open their arms so that we can let the new in. Remember, this is the subconscious mind, and this is where we're holding. So this is saying nothing new will get in. So I always like to feel that I'm open and receptive to new ideas, and I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to change, and I'm willing to grow. And sometimes I don't want to, and sometimes it hits areas that I don't really care to change at the moment. And, you know, that's always an area that I know is important for me to work on.
First, get serious. Next, get smart. Learn everything you can from every source you can. The next one was get going. No matter how smart you are, nothing much happens in terms of results until you put it into action. Just go to work. And the old ancient formula is probably the best. 6 days work, 1 day rest. Important not to get those numbers mixed up. Here's why activity is so important. It finally produces the miracle of reality. Yes, we need to be dreamers. Yes, we need to be architects for the future. But the architect needs the bricklayer. The bricklayer needs the architect knowing what to build. But the architect can draw the dimensions all day long. But unless somebody is willing to lay bricks, then the entity and the opportunity is never accomplished. So get going. Here's one that's important, and that is get better. And no matter how long you live, it's possible each day, each year to get better. To get better at understanding the complexity of life, at handling a variety of personalities that come your way. Get better at conquering worry. Get better at language that works miracles and helping people see and change their lives. Get better at seeing the vision for yourself so that you can enlarge what you do. That takes in your family, takes in your community, your country. Get better at giving wise advice. Here was the next one. I learned it from my parents, and that is to get away, balance your life. Anything out of balance really doesn't run well, whether it's your life or your automobile or your business. My parents put it this way: don't miss anything. Don't miss the game, don't miss the performance, don't miss the show, don't miss the opportunity. Turn off the television set most of the time. The average American family watches television 6 hours a day. I asked a man one time what his television cost. He said $450. I said, no, what does it really cost? Not to own it, but to watch it, what does it cost?
I said, I estimate last year it cost you about $45,000, not to own it, but to watch it.
To me, I think enlightenment is letting go of all the things we believe that are not benefiting us in life, or that are barriers to our life, to the good things in life, and to release them one by one and just think, I don't have to believe that anymore. Or do I want to believe that anymore? And making a conscious choice. When we can understand that every single thing we believe has been a choice, and it may or may not be true. It can be true for you and not for you, because it's your belief system and your belief system, and then I have my belief system. I say a lot, that may be true for you, it's not true for me. I may not say that out loud, but people are doing things or saying things, and I think that to myself a lot. And also, it has nothing to do with me. Whatever's going, that has nothing to do with me, because I'm under the law of my own consciousness. This is my pathway, and you have your pathway, you have yours, everybody does. So we're all on a journey, and I think the more conscientious we are about it, the more conscious choices we make, the better our journey is, or the easier, or the swifter, or we get more goodies, or we have better health.
But anytime you want to, you can learn from the last 5, make the next 5 years of your life totally different from the last 5, if you'll make some little, simple, beginning changes for your health, for your income, being more valuable in the marketplace, things you want for yourself and for your family, and all the rest. Small pieces at a time. Best is to substitute a poor habit with a good habit. If you've got some bad habits as far as your health is concerned, if you start some good ones. My mama taught an apple a day. And my father will be 92, he's never been ill. I've never been ill. My children, my grandchildren, mama taught us so well those simple, basic, good habits of good health that we've followed all these years, and the payoff is extraordinary. So maybe you've got something like smoking maybe that you shouldn't do. But rather than just trying to quit that, what if you started something positive and you got so inspired about doing that, that inspired you then to start changing something that was negative? Success is looking at your own desires, looking at your own possibilities, and then stretching yourself and seeing if you can become all that you can become, earn all that you can earn, share all that you can share, make steady progress in that direction. To me, that's success. Well, a lot of the immigrants now that come to America from other countries have taught us some great lessons. They're some of the best students in school. The Russians that came to Israel, I'm telling you, they're now the leaders in industry. They are so grateful for liberty and freedom and for a chance. They need no guarantees. They don't need to be taken care of. All they need is an open door, a ladder to climb, a place to start, somebody to give them a chance, and away they go. And I think we've had it so easy in America for so long that we have lost that sharp edge. And who knows, all the shake-up these last few years, the walls have come tumbling down. But in America, we need a whole new sense of personal drive, personal ambition, that will take whatever we got and see what we can make out of it. If it's pennies, we start with pennies. If it's painful, you start painful. You know, if you're ill, you start ill. If you don't have much of a chance, you just start with not much of a chance, but see what you can make of it. And I think some of the people in other countries now where freedom is finally intact, the walls have come down, that are starting that journey, could teach us a lot about taking what we've got, making something valuable out of it, rather than expecting someone to give us something. If there's books provided that you don't read, classes provided that you don't take, music provided that you don't listen to, ideas provided that you ignore, places to go of learning that you could find contact with ideas that could change your life and never take advantage of it, that's the big tragedy, to have so much brought to your fingertips and not to be excited about it. But that's what these seminars are for. That's what books are for. That's what messages like this are for, is to remind people of what all is available. Let us not be cynical, but let us be thankful and reach out and appropriate what's available and let it affect our lives now and in the future. And my study in the possibilities just overwhelmed me as to where people can begin and then finally where they can go, what they can start with and what they can finally become. And to, first of all, I think recognize that is an incredible, exciting adventure. And then if you start working with it, what could I really do if I learned the lessons, adopted the disciplines, read the books, fed on the ideas like bread for my mind? What could I really accomplish? And the stories are always fascinating to us all about where people started, but where they finally ended up, what they finally accomplished, with dangers along the way, of course. But that's what philosophy is all about. Human philosophy is to give us guidance to avoid the dangers and take advantage of the opportunities. Number one, to earlier recognize the dangers and to also earlier pick up the opportunities and make something of them. But I'm constantly amazed at the human spirit, human possibilities. People with the most enormous struggling problems still manage to rise above them and do something noble, something powerful, something wondrous. I'm always intrigued by that. And I'm intrigued with myself, how I act like I act, how I respond like I respond. What is this human adventure on the spinning planet? I'm intrigued by all that. But America, nationally, industries, commerce, business, companies, corporations, institutions, education, politics, all the rest, involving human beings is an intriguing adventure. I think we need to be curious about it, how it works, and how we can best play our part in family, in community, citizen, company, salesperson. Curiosity. Develop an appetite for that. And just start by saying, I'm going to systematically make some inquiry. I'm going to be a better reader. I'm going to listen better. I'm going to search. And start that whole process. And the more you do it, I'm telling you, you'll find something fascinating. That'll lead to something else fascinating. And the first thing you know, you've got this on an upward trend. To become valuable as a leader, to become valuable in articulating the challenge of the future, competing among the nations of the world. We've got our work cut out for us. But it starts at home, being valuable as a teacher. The key is not to just be a teacher, but be a student teacher. Don't just be a salesperson, be a student salesperson. Don't just be a father, be a student father. Don't just be the leader of a company, but be a student leader. And whether it's company, corporation, government, school, community, home, family, office, basketball team, baseball team, wherever people gather for whatever reason, if each one brings a better value to that enterprise, to that game, to that family, to that business, to that office, we've got a good chance of competing well among the nations of the world, and who knows what all we can accomplish in the 21st century. Starting with something simple. Mama said an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Good question for my audience today. What if that's true? Someone says, well, if that's true, that would be easy to do. But here's the challenge. What's easy to do is easy not to do. What if you should be walking around the block every day for your good health and you don't? You're not on a good track. If you should and you could and you don't, it's called formula for disaster. But self-improvement is called starting with the most immediate thing that comes to your mind that you could do to improve your health, your life, your income, your future. And if it's an apple a day, start there. If it's a walk around the block, start there. If you need to build your personal development library, go get a book and say, this is the next book of my new library. If you need to attend a seminar, go. If you need to keep a journal, Mr. Schoaf taught me to keep a journal starting at age 25. It represents a major part of my library, my own journals. notes that I've copied over the years, little poems I've written down, things that I've gathered that are invaluable to me, my business, as well as my lecturing career. Go get a journal. Start with an apple a day. Walk around the block. You know, it's not going to come in some great package out of the sky. But each little thing you start with called self-improvement, whether it's health or sign up for a class that you've been intending to take and you've put it off. Neglect does us all in. Neglect has us by the throat, shutting off air supply, money supply, and every other supply. But if you reverse that process, and it doesn't matter what you start with, just say, I should, I could, I don't. I will now say, I should, I could, I will. And if it's an apple a day, start there. Getting a journal, make an entry. Go get that next book of your thriving library. Sign up for a class, and you have now begun the process. And that's all you need to do is begin the process. And the early return from those early steps will inspire you to start taking all the rest. Everything needs refinement. I've got a good phrase. Everything by longevity tends to get off course. There isn't anything that doesn't need to be looked at fairly often. I've seen more than one person say, hey, I've got plenty of money in the bank. I'm doing well, but some systems are not working. And failure to take a look at some systems that aren't working, you can get faked out by money in the bank. You've got to look at all areas. An ancient script says the little foxes spoil the vines. And you look at this vineyard and it looks great, but it's got little foxes. And it doesn't matter if it's the president or the government or the senator or the Senate or the company or the corporation or a millionaire or a billionaire. All systems need to be regularly checked. So don't let too much time go by before you take a look and make sure all systems are working. And if you do it with your health, if you do it wherever you are, if the corporation does it, if the government does it, we'll all be better off for the future. The ideas that I share with people these days so dramatically affected my own life back in those early days. I never get tired of sharing the story and the principles, the things that changed my income, my bank account, my outlook on life, got me setting goals, building a library, working on disciplines that I never thought I could master that I did, in sharing all those ideas with people, then getting the letters and the phone calls. When I travel around the world, people still come up and say, 5 years ago, I attended your seminar and here's what's happened. A lady showed me the other day in Australia notes she had taken 14 years ago. She said, I still use these notes in working in my business. Here's what happened to my relationship with my family. Those letters, those phone calls, those personal testimonials for me, that's what I live for. I don't need the money. I take the money, but I don't need the money. But I do need that joy that comes from people saying what you said was valuable for me, and thank you very much for sharing. That's heavyweight stuff. You can't buy it with money. But my last word would be, hey, start with something simple. Keep adding value to your life. And you can do the most extraordinary things. And why not you? If, a boy from the farms of Idaho, and if we had a parade of American success stories here, they would all say the same thing. Why not you? We started with nothing. Why not you? We started behind. Why not you? If we can do it, you can do it. That's my message.
The biggest poison in us is regret.
Bad decisions, hasty decisions, too fast, and affects the next 20 years of your life because you made the wrong decision. What makes us make these fast decisions? Fear?
Let the fear of regret fuel you to take action today, now.
It doesn't matter to me any longer how long I live. What matters to me most is how I live. Every day, ask yourself that question, how you living? That if you're going to do something, you do it the right way. That it's never wrong to do the right thing. That how you do anything is how you do everything.
Most of us who are human have to deal with regret from time to time. I'm sure you can agree. Maybe regret because of a poor decision we made. You know, things that I wish I had done differently in my life or in my ministry.
Of course, who wouldn't want to take another go at something and improve on the first try by doing it again? But the fact is, you don't get that chance. Don't let regret beat you down. Don't be a slave to regret. No, let it teach you. Let it make you better.
The only one that can stop you is you. If you let your mistakes define you, if you wear labels that people stick on you, that will keep you from your destiny. And when someone keeps bringing up your past mistakes, trying to get you to live condemned, you can't stop them from putting labels on you, but you can take them right off. My past is over. My mistakes are behind me. My failures are in my yesterday. And you know what? I'm not bringing them into today.
Leave the past and move forward. You're going to have to put that where it belongs. You know, we all have a past, but we don't need to live there anymore.
If you ask people what they regret, especially as they get older, what they generally report is things not done. So they don't regret so much mistakes they've made, although of course people obviously regret mistakes they've made as well. So they don't exactly regret sins of commission, right? Errors that they've actively made. They torment themselves for opportunities that had presented themselves that they did not, let's say, exploit or engage in.
The regret we feel for things that we've done, though intense, only lasts a short period of time. But the regret that we feel for things that we missed out on, that can extend throughout a lifetime. Because most of us are scared, and we choose to lead an easy life. We choose to take the safe path. And by doing so, we start to rack up those regrets. But there is a solution. You have to be willing to be bold.
Bad decisions, hasty decisions, too fast, and affects the next 20 years of your life because you made the wrong decision. If you'd have just waited, got all your information together, settled yourself, you'd have been better. What makes us make these fast decisions? Fear?
It takes discipline to face your fears so you can conquer them. And that's what discipline is. Discipline means taking the hard road, the uphill road, to do what's right. And regret, in and of itself, it's worthless. So, learn and move on.
True desire in the heart, whatever it is you want to do, work hard to get it. Don't just aspire to make a living. Aspire to make a difference.
That was my mindset. And that's how you get through things. You put yourself, you immerse yourself wherever it is, you become that. You become that and give yourself no way out. The scariest thing in the world to me, even to this day, was that could have been the rest of my life. I thought then I was trying hard. That's the scariest thing in the world.
To absorb, let life touch you. Don't let it kill you, but let it touch you. The experiences you have, the good ones, the bad ones, the highs and the lows. Part of the gift you can give to others is the gift of your experience, if you remember. If it's vivid, if it's powerful, if it's fresh, if it's unique, if it's vital. You can really affect other people with the relating your own experiences, just because we're too lazy to live the experience and then reflect on it. Live another week and reflect on it. Take a half a day at the end of the month, reflecting over the month. What were the numbers? Some weren't good, some were good. The books you read, the books you heard about, relating your experiences at the end of the month. At the end of the year, take a weekend. Take some time, reflecting. Goals are major to a genuinely success-oriented person. Without them, you're just playing around. The difference between a goal-directed individual and someone without goals is like the difference between a Wimbledon champion and a kid batting a tennis ball around on a court with no net, no opponent to bring out the best in him, and no way of keeping score. Despite everything that's been written about the importance of goal setting, very few people actually put it into practice. It's always amazed me the way the average guy puts more thought and effort into planning his 2-week vacation than he devotes to planning his life. What's he taking a vacation from? He hasn't really decided what he's trying to do in life, but for 2 weeks out of the year, he just decides he wants to do something else. And this is what he plans very carefully. Challenge creates strong character, and goals represent challenge in its most positive form. Leaders have their personal goals clearly in focus, as well as the goals of the organization. In fact, one of the principal responsibilities of leadership is defining goals for the vast majority of people who aren't able to do it for themselves.
Be the best. Lifelong personal development and the commitment to personal excellence requires tremendous dedication, discipline, and willpower. It is often the case that we know what we need to do, but we lack the courage to take the risks that accompany trying anything new. Instead, we make excuses for inaction.
The great thing about excuses is that no matter what happens, excuses are always there waiting to be used. Anybody can have an excuse for absolutely anything, but the downside of excuses is that nobody really believes them. If you make excuses, they're going to know it, and they're going to think less of you. But if you refuse to rely on excuses, people are going to know that too, and they'll admire you for it.
You need large amounts of self-discipline to deal courageously with all the fear-inducing events of your life. Courage is rightly considered the foremost of the virtues, for upon it all others depend. Often, fear is necessary to preserve life, prevent injury, and guard against financial mistakes.
As you might imagine, I don't think we should spend a lot of time regretting the choices we've made in the past. To spend time brooding over how things went, that's an illusion. What you're doing is suffering pointlessly in the present under the shadow of certain memories. You're telling yourself a story about something that might have been over and over again. How long do you want to do that for?
And sometimes life is going to knock you down. But because you have been knocked down don't mean that you are finished. No, you're knocked down but not knocked out. No. You got some reasons. It might be your own sense of pride and determination in the kind of life that you want to create.
So, if everyone is afraid, what is the difference between the brave person and the coward? The brave person disciplines himself to confront, deal with, and act in spite of the fear. In contrast, the coward allows himself to be dominated and controlled by the fear. The difference between the hero and the coward is that the hero sticks in there 5 minutes longer. No one is born with fears. Fears can therefore be unlearned by practicing self-discipline repeatedly with regard to fear until it goes away. The most common fears that we experience, which often sabotage all hopes for success, are the fears of failure, poverty, and loss of money. These fears cause people to avoid risk of any kind and to reject opportunity when it's presented to them.
Over the years, I've developed some ideas about effective goal setting, and I'd like to share those with you in a moment. When I was a kid, I used to dream what it would be like to buy a ticket on a railroad train and just go someplace. I really didn't think about where I'd be going or how long it would take to get there. I just loved the idea of getting on the train and just letting it take me someplace. I guess there's still something appealing about that idea, but it's not really the way you want to live your life as a mature human being. When you grow up, you buy a ticket on a train or a plane because you want to go someplace, and you know exactly where you're going. You may have to change planes in a different city, your flight may be canceled, and you may have to switch to another flight. You may not feel like talking to the person seated next to you, but you will persist. You know where you're headed, and you're quite determined to get there. That's goal-directed behavior in its simplest form. There are short-term goals and long-term goals. Long-term goals are the equivalent of a major journey. When you reach the point where you've achieved your long-term goals, your life will be fundamentally changed, and the process of getting to that point will transform you into a stronger, wiser, higher-performing person than you are now. How can you identify your long-term goals? On a sheet of paper or in a notebook, write these 5 headings. Number 1, what do I want to do? Number 2, what do I want to be? Number 3, what do I want to see? Number 4, what do I want to have? And number 5, where do I want to go? Now, under each of these categories, write down several possible long-term goals. Be very relaxed about this. Just allow your mind to flow and come up with 3 to 6 ideas for each category. Don't worry about a lot of details at this point, and don't spend too much time describing a particular goal. In category number 1, for example, what do I want to do? Suppose you want to write a book about the history of your family, going back to the arrival of your great-grandparents in the United States. Just quickly jot down family history. Then as you look down the list of categories, it occurs to you that you've always wanted to see the pyramids in Egypt. So you write pyramids. Keep writing down ideas as long as the list of categories continues to inspire you. You'll probably be surprised at some of the things that turn up. You may have kept a great many desires and aspirations hidden in the back of your mind, but the opportunity to write them down will move them to the forefront of your consciousness. That's one of the benefits of this technique. When you're satisfied with your list of long-term goals, read through the list once again. Then, beside each item, write the number of years that you believe it will take you to achieve that particular goal. For example, you may estimate that it will take you 10 years to research and write the book on your family history. But you'll need only 5 years to get yourself into a position where you can take a trip to the pyramids. Create a time frame like this for every one of your long-term goals. Immediate goals, those that will take less than a year to achieve, are important too, of course, and we'll deal with those separately in a moment. When you're finished entering your time frames, there should be a fairly balanced distribution of all your goals. If there are many 1- and 3-year objectives, but only a few in the 10-year category, maybe you need to think more about what you really want your life to add up to. What kind of life you really want to build over the long run. But if there's a preponderance of 10-year goals and relatively few of the shorter-term variety, this may be an indication that you're putting things off, that you're focused too much on where you'll be at the end of the day and not enough on what you can accomplish right now. Keep working on your list, adding and subtracting goals with various time frames until you've created a more or less even distribution.
How many times have you had a great idea, didn't do anything about it, and then a year later someone did something about it, made a lot of money, got the promotion, etc.? So when you have the idea, the inspiration to act, it's time. Act. And you don't have to know it perfectly. You know, you can drive from here to California, wherever you might be, assuming you're not in Hawaii, by going west. And what happens is that you don't have to see the whole route. You only need to see 200 yards ahead of you. At night, you can drive just with your headlights, and the headlights keep moving with you. And your goal in life is to get in the game. You don't have to see the whole blueprint. You just have to see the next steps, the next steps, the next steps. And if you keep taking the next steps, eventually you get to where you want to go. Does that make sense? We believe that when you are vibrating at the level of 100% expectancy that you're going to get something, it's already a done deal. You know, piece of cake, no big deal. We're going to win this thing. We're going to get that contract. You know, I'm going to make this thing happen. Then what happens is the universe literally responds. Sometimes when you're doing this, you're putting on the vision of this should happen by this date. It's okay to set goals like that, but sometimes it takes a week longer, a year longer, whatever. But law of attraction says if you'll just hold the expectancy, like attracts like. If you say, I want to be a millionaire, but I don't know anyone that would ever teach me how to do that, or I want to buy a car, but I don't have any money, then what you're doing is saying, it's like calling up Domino's Pizza and saying, send me a pizza, and calling them up a minute later and saying, never mind. It's like, you've got to create the space mentally to hold this vision that you've got. And that requires expectation and then knowing that the perfect thing is on its way.
You should always make decisions with your heart and soul. You can use your brain for math. You can use your brain to look at the fine print in a contract. But when it comes to the actual feel of the decision, you always want to go inward and check it against your heart and soul. Here's the simple test. Does the decision that you're about to make expand you, expand your future, or expand the possibilities of your life? If the answer is yes, then the decision is yes, no matter how terrifying it is.
Here are some action exercises that you can do. Make a decision today to invest in yourself and getting better, as if your future depends on it, because it does. Identify the most important skills you have that determine the quality and quantity of results you get at your work, and make a plan to get better in each one. Set excellent performance in your work as a goal, and then determine exactly what you will need to do every day to join the top 20% or better in your field. Look ahead 3 to 5 years and determine the new knowledge and skills you will need in order to lead your field in the future. Then start acquiring them today. If you could wave a magic wand and become absolutely excellent, which one skill would have the greatest impact on your earning ability? Whatever your answer, set that skill as a goal, make a plan, and work on it every day. Commit yourself today to lifelong learning and never let a day go by without getting better in some area.
Now comes the really challenging and interesting part. So far, you've just been adding things to the list, but now it's time to start making some selections. Now you're going to start asking yourself what's really important compared to what might just be sort of fun. Choose 4 goals from each of the 4 time frames, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10 year. Now you have 16 separate goals. So far, you've only referred to them in shorthand fashion, but now you're going to start seeing them very, very clearly in your mind's eye. You're going to see each goal just as if it were being realized this very minute. And you're going to write down a detailed description of exactly what you see. Do you intend to open a handmade furniture store in 3 years? What will the store look like from the street out front? Will there be gold leaf lettering on the windows? Or will there be a sign hanging over the door instead? How many square feet will the store contain? Will there be a showroom area for the furniture in front and a workspace in back? Or will the furniture be built at a different location? Do you intend to have any employees, or will you run the business entirely by yourself? Think of all the questions that need to be answered in order to see your goal with absolute clarity. Review what you've written at times, and keep track of your progress toward these objectives. Above all, persevere. Goal setting is a very important first step, but goal achievement is a continuous, lifelong process. That's what makes it so challenging. That's also why it's so extremely rewarding to finally attain your long-term goals. With regard to immediate goals, those that require anywhere from a day to a year to achieve, I recommend creating lots of objectives that can be accomplished in a month or less. Write them down. Read what you've written at frequent intervals. Keep track of your progress. And do something often that brings you closer to realizing these very short-term objectives. That way, you'll always have something to celebrate. These goals are not only important in their own right, they're also confidence builders and motivators toward a lifestyle based on perseverance and achievement.